Hey everybody, welcome back to JOECMDRAWZ. I've got another video for you today, and we're going to go over some of these quirk idea sketches. I wanted to design some more like quirks and kind of like characters in the My Hero Academia art style and in the My Hero Academia universe, especially now since season 5 is coming back. Okay, so why don't I just start kind of like going over these characters and I'll tell you like the inspiration for their names, kind of going over their designs, telling you their quirks, what they would kind of be and what they would do with them, stuff like that. So why don't we start with this guy up in the corner here? He looks kind of pretty villainous, wouldn't you say? And his name is Kinta Otako. Obviously, I took kin from gold because kin means gold in Japanese, and otako means man, so it literally translates to gold man, which I think is pretty fitting for him. And his quirk is gold touch. And what this basically does is that when he actually kind of like Shigaraki, when he touches an object with all 5 fingers, it actually starts coating that object in a really kind of like thin layer of gold. But it actually transforms the substance, not just coating it, but actually turning it into gold itself. Obviously, it's not exactly gold, because how I figure out it would work is that it kind of transforms the substance into a kind of sort of like gold-like substance that's very, very, very similar to gold. Even if somebody like a jeweler who has years of experience looking at jewels and whatever looked at it very, very closely, they definitely would not be able to tell the difference between this gold and real gold. So it's very useful for that, especially for his villainous nature. As obviously, I feel like Kinta would use his quirk for villainous purposes to basically scam people out of thousands of, you know, thousands of like yen, I guess you could say. Because I feel like these characters would be definitely based in Japan, and he would use this kind of like to scam a lot of his friends or family or strangers out of a lot of money, and he would make quite a lot of money. He's less of kind of like a let's go on like kick heroes' asses kind of like villain. He'd be more of like let me just stay in the shadows and make a lot of money and scam people kind of villain, which I think is kind of cool. Just kind of like some nice variety in your villains. Not all of them need to be like world-ending Shigaraki levels of kind of like let's just destroy the world. Some of them want to operate on a kind of like smaller scale, and I feel like Kinta Otoko is a very cool kind of like a low scale villain that just wants to make as much money as possible with as little effort and as much trickery as possible. So I think his gold touch quirk is very, very cool. Obviously, larger objects, I imagine this is how it would work. Larger objects would take a lot longer to transform into this kind of like gold substance. But the larger the object is, the less time it would stick in that form, and then it would actually revert back to its real texture. So he probably wouldn't want to kind of like turn like a house, for example, into like a gold house unless he was tricking somebody, I guess. And he was able to get away really quickly. Um, but that's kind of how I imagine it working. And obviously, like on his design, he's got like these gold earrings. I imagine him having. He's got like these gold snake bites and like these gold cufflinks on his shirt. He's got the kanji for gold tattooed on his neck as well. I just think he's a really cool idea. I think he looks pretty villainous as well, and I've sort of captured the My Hero Academia art style for him. Even in this just this sketch, I think it looks really cool. Um, Obviously, his villain name is Midas, which is obviously inspired from the legend of King Midas, where he was so greedy he wanted everything to be gold, and he was granted that wish, and anything he touched then therefore turned into gold. And obviously, he touched his daughter or hugged her or something. Can't remember exactly what happened, but he ended up turning into gold, and obviously then realized, oh shit, this is a curse, not a blessing. But I feel like this wouldn't be as dark as that. I think he would obviously be able to toggle it on and off. He wouldn't be just randomly touching people and turning them into gold. Um, like I said earlier, he's not very much of a kind of like fighty kind of villain. He would probably try and use his quirk to kind of like incapacitate or hinder people that are trying to catch him. Like he would probably grab their hands or grab their feet and turn them into gold, and that would stop them for a while until they were maybe if they were particularly strong, or they could just shatter or break that kind of like coating of gold substance on them. I don't know, but I really like this one. I think this one's the strongest one I've come up with. Um, I just think it's a really cool, interesting idea that isn't necessarily like I said, geared towards being more of a big villain, but more of like a low scale, kind of like a scam artist villain. I think that's really cool. So that's Kinta Otoko, also known as Midas. Um, Next here we have Jinta Yaju. The jin in jinta actually comes from werewolf because in Japanese, um, I believe it's jin or something like that, but means werewolf, which I think was really cool. So I just added ta on there and on the end there to make actual name. So jinta, and then yaju is reminiscent Japanese for like monster or beast, which I think is really interesting. So that's why his name is Jinta Yaju. And his quirk is lycanthrope. And obviously, lycanthropy and lycanthropes is obviously werewolves. And so his quirk is essentially him being a mutant type quirk that would allow him to transform to this kind of werewolf like state where he's got like enhanced strength and speed and smell and eyesight and taste and hearing and stuff like that, which would really help. And obviously a stronger jaw with these kind of like jagged teeth here. Um, Maybe it could have some sort of like howling ability where it would howl real loud and deafen everyone's ears or something, um, which I would think is really cool. I think it really captured kind of like this kind of like crazed look on his face as well, which I think I really like. And I imagine he could be like Kinta's bodyguard, like the guy that does a lot of the fighting, the muscle behind it, his operation. And he's got all like this giant kind of like plumes of hair that this kind of thick fur that he would have all over his body that would be able to like him to block physical attacks. Like maybe there's a hero that punches really hard, or maybe uses some sort of like serrated kind of like support item or something, and he'll be able to pretty much easily block this with this thick fur thick fur or hide that he has on his body that he'd be able to block. So this guy isn't really too kind of like complicated or too deep. I just think him being a werewolf is pretty freaking cool. I do know there is the hero at UA, sorry, that has the quirk dog, but I think this one is different because his howls and his kind of like his hide and hair would actually practically work. And not only that, on top of all the other senses, it'd be kind of like an upgraded version of that quirk, I feel like. And obviously he'd be absolutely massive. I'm thinking like this guy's like 7 foot tall, built like a brick shit house, that kind of stuff. So he's like the muscle of the operation, and his quirk lycanthropy or lycanthrope would really aid in helping that, especially with his advanced hearing. So he could, if anybody was tracking them or anybody was trying to like tail them, he'd be able to hear them out or be able to sniff them out with enhanced sniffing, or he could see them from a mile away with enhanced eyesight, stuff like that. Just natural things he would gain from being a lycanthrope. Um, so that's Jinta Yaju and his quirk lycanthropy or lycanthrope, and his villain name Lycan. So the next one here isn't exactly a villain. She's actually more of a civilian, and I like how cute she looks. I think I've done a pretty cool job of kind of making her look pretty cute. Um, she's kind of got these kind of big ochako or like froppy eyes. Um, she's got this long hair and she's got this little quiff here at the front there, and she's got this really friendly looking smile. Um, and her name is Otsuka Kamigata. Now, Otsuka obviously comes from Utsukushi, which means beautiful in Japanese, and Kamigata actually means hairstyle. I looked this up. And yeah, I just thought her quirk, solid hair, is perfect. Basically, what this would do is that she can use her quirk, solid hair, to basically make your hair into any kind of shape or form you want. And it will actually hold that shape and hold that form no matter what is done to the hair. Except if it's cut, then obviously the effect would be loosened or the effect would be lost. But essentially, she could mold and shape your hair without having to use any brushes or anything. Just using her hands would allow her to shape and form anyone's hair into any kind of shape. Obviously, she can only work with so much length that's there, so the longer the hair, the more kind of leeway she actually has with the hair. But I thought this would be a really great quirk to have somebody who's a civilian that maybe might be a beautician or a hairstylist. Because I imagine her working in some sort of like hair salon or something. And she would be able to like shift and morph her hair into any kind of like form she wants any day of the week she wants. And what's really cool about solid hair is the fact that not only does it hold its shape, so maybe if you're at a party, it won't actually like get scraggly or anything, but it actually doesn't get greasy. It doesn't get kind of like wet. Um, it's really cool how you know little things like that would actually make life a lot easier for a lot of people. Maybe you just don't have time to brush your hair or to make it look nice. Maybe you're in a rush or something, and if you have gotten like your hairstyle shifted, morphed by Utsuka that day, um, it would actually hold its form for the foreseeable future unless you wanted to go and change your hairstyle again. Um, Obviously, your hair would grow, but it would still maintain that shape and form unless she undone the effect with her quirk. But I thought solid hair would be a really fun, kind of like interesting quirk to actually have. Not exactly built for combat or fighting villains or anything, but a lot of kind of like quirks in that universe I feel like wouldn't be geared towards fighting villains. Because I don't think I've seen a lot of people doing this. When they want to design their own My Hero Academia character or their own quirk, they don't really think about kind of like the characters that don't actually fight villains or that are just unlucky that don't get quirks that allow them to fight villains. And so stuff ones like Solid Hair wouldn't exactly be geared towards fighting villains, but it'd be great for helping keeping hairstyles and keeping them clean and tidy and not kind of like scraggy or greasy or anything like that. And obviously, I had to give her the All Might hairstyle, as I feel like she'd be a massive All Might fan. So she's kind of like used her own quirk and her own hair to kind of give herself the All Might hairstyle there, which is why it's there. So that's Utsuka Kamigata with her quirk, solid hair. And finally, we come to one of my actual kind of underrated or kind of guess last minute additions to the this kind of like this page, and his name is Kuro Koken, and obviously Kuro means black, and Koken means black smoke, which was really fitting for his quirk, Smoke. Um, and his hero name here I've written down is Plume, obviously because of plumes of smoke. And how I imagine this one working is that actually on his scalp he has these tiny like little kind of like little tubes or like chimneys that are actually sticking from the top of his scalp, and that they're actually the ones that are actually producing this kind of like black smoke effect that you see on here. I used a different brush rather than drawing it. I actually kind of like formed the kind of like smoke around his head, and it would kind of almost have this animated kind of pluming smoke effect. On there at all times. And how this works is that obviously, like I said, these like little tubes or chimneys on top of his scalp would be puffing out this kind of like black smoke, but he would also have kind of this small flame that's in his stomach that's actually burning whatever he eats and filtering out back through his kind of like these exhausts on top of his head. Kind of think of like Ida with his kind of like exhausts, except these are a little more like little chimneys dotted all over his head. If you took away the smoke, you would just see this bare scalp with like all these kind of like little tubes on top, and that's kind of like what's actually producing the smoke. And I think this would really cool, look really cool in the anime as well when it's all animated and he's moving around and his hair's just moving like a big smoke cloud. I think that'd be really cool. If you've ever seen like cooling towers and you see like all that like smoke that's coming out, I feel like that's how it would work. I thought it'd be really funny if like if he's sick, his smoke instead of being black would actually be white. I think that'd be really funny as well. But what's really cool about smoke is that he can use it in a lot of different ways. Like he can actually, how I imagine this working is that he kind of like holds his breath, pinches his nose, and then he blows really hard, and then all the smoke just goes like that in a big smoke screen, so he can use that to help other heroes get away or civilians to get away, or blinding villains. And actually, because it's smoke, like black smoke, it would actually sting their eyes. He would have some sort of like film over his eyes so he doesn't actually get blinded by his own smoke. Because I know like some characters in My Hero Academia, like I believe his name was Mustard, he has that kind of like poisonous smoke or mustard gas quirk, but he actually has to wear a mask, like a World War II mask, to actually so he doesn't, get affected by his own poisonous gas. But Kuro doesn't have that problem, which is really cool. Um, he would be a hero. He'd be like a low ranked hero, but I feel like his quirk has a lot of uses, especially with stuff like long distance communication, smoke signals. He could use like little puffs, like 3 puffs, 2 puffs, 7 puffs, to convey different messages. So like some sign language, but in smoke form, harken back to kind of like I believe it was like American Indians, how they would use smoke signals to converse over long distances. So he could do that to other like heroes to tell them where like villains are or where civilians are, or if there's any civilians that are trapped or whatever. Has so much potential for like actual long distance communication without having to kind of actually rush over there, which is really helpful. Not only that, but since it's black smoke, if he had some sort of like support item to kind of scoop his own black smoke into a ball-like shape, then he can actually ignite it to create explosions as well. So there's a lot of different like utilities for this quirk smoke. You might not think that it might be, but it actually does. Um, I also feel like he could be able to make the smoke as thin as mist, or he could make it as dense as fog. So he could, a lot of villains could actually be trapped in this kind of like black smoggy area where they can't actually see anything, but because Sakuro isn't affected by his own black smoke, he could actually just hit them and dip back into his black smoke screen, and they wouldn't be able to hit him. They wouldn't be able to see him because the black smoke is actually stinging their eyes. So it has a lot of practical uses, and I think this would be so cool to see, especially if it was animated as well. Maybe when he gets angry, it actually like puffs out, and he needs to kind of like recollect all that smoke. And it also depends on what he eats. Um, which could also maybe some sort of like support item you could carry on him, different kind of food to produce different amounts of smoke and stuff like that. But that's Kuro Koken and his quirk smoke with his hero name Plume. So I feel like these are all really cool ideas. That's another addition to like the amount of kind of like just quick sketches that I'm adding to this kind of like my own My Hero Academia kind of like cast of characters. If you've seen the other videos that I've produced on this kind of stuff. So let me know what your favorite kind of like quirk here was today. Was it Kinta Otako's Gold Touch, Jinta Yaju's Lycanthrope, Utsuka Kamigata and her quirk Solid Hair, or my personal favorite on here, Kuro Koken's Smoke Quirk? So let me know what you think. And that's all I've really got for you today. So don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye! Hey there, thanks for watching. If you like what you see, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share my work around. I'll see you next time.